Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Tejano Virtual Events. This session will be on the Conservation Ambassador Program at the El Paso Zoo by Rick Lobello. This session will be recorded so that you may come back to it later if you need, and so others who may have missed out on today's events will be able to come and watch it. Thank you. So now, at this time, please mute your mics for the best sound experience, otherwise the feedback could interfere with information we will be sharing today. Without further ado, I'll pass it on to our presenter so that we may begin.
Hi, Mr. Lobello. Are you having some technical difficulties?
Let me see here. I had to turn
There
on
you
the
go.
yeah, I had to turn on the microphone and camera. I didn't know it wasn't already on.
Oh, yes, sir. We see you and hear you. All yours.
Okay, all right. But I don't see anybody. I just see a bunch of names. That's okay. I'm used to it. Let's see here. I don't see. I'm so used to Zoom. This is a new platform for me. But I see myself in the corner. Now I see someone waving at me. Manny.
Just saying hello, confirming that we're out here. There's a lot of us.
Yeah, I can't see how many people are actually here. Looks like there's 9 people.
Yes, sir. We're at 11 people. 11 people, and more are still coming in.
Okay. So you're going to tell me what to do and how to share my screen?
Alrighty. So in the bottom right corner, there should be a little purple tab. If you click it, it opens up the chat panel. All right. And then in the chat panel, there's different icons. At the very bottom, there's a chat bubble. Then there's like a thing with 2 people, and it says 11. And then right next to that is a box with an arrow on it. So what you'll do...
Did you say the bottom right is a chat panel?
Yes, the bottom right, there's a little purple tab. If you click it, it opens the chat panel.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
All right, and then at the very bottom of that chat panel, the menu that opens up, there's a chat bubble that allows you to see the chat. Then next to that, you're going to see an icon with people on it that lets you see all the participants in the room.
Okay.
And then right next to that, there's a box with an arrow. So if you click the box with an arrow, that is the share content area. So if you're going to share your screen, you're going to click on the second one that says share application screen. And then you're going to click what you're going to share. So if you're going to switch between a bunch of different things, I recommend click entire screen and then click the picture that's on your computer and then share. However, if you're going to share just a PowerPoint, you can use the first one and it'll say PowerPoint there and you can click it. Now, if you plan on sharing anything that like a video or something like that, make sure in the bottom left corner, the share system audio is checked. And then after that, you're going to click share and we'll be able to see your screen.
Okay, well, I already have my screen up there.
Okay.
And so I can see it there. So I'm going to put share screen.
And yes, sir. We see your screen. So now we see everything that's on your computer. So whatever you see on your screen, that's what we're going to see on ours.
Okay, so I'm going to, can you see just the title slide for the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. On that thing where it says usbbcollaborate.com is sharing your screen, you can click on the hide right there and it'll make it go away.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep it up for now. And if I put hide, can people see me as they see the screen that says Conservation Ambassador? Can they also see me talking at the same time?
Yes, sir. It won't
Okay,
show up on the recording, but the people that are in the session right now can see your video.
okay. Well, I just have a PowerPoint, and so I don't like people just hearing my voice. If they can see me at the same time, that's good. So
Yes, sir.
I'm ready whenever you guys are ready then.
We're ready. We see you both. We see your slideshow and your red mug.
Okay. All right. Well, then, I'm not sure how long this conversation is going to be, but at some point at the end, I'll be happy to take any questions that you all have. And then I've got my office phone number there, and I got my email address, and then I also have our blog. So those are all easy ways to contact me if any of you after this presentation have questions or would actually like to get involved as a volunteer. So we have two major volunteer programs at the zoo. The oldest one is sponsored by the El Paso Zoological Society, and they recruit volunteers mainly to help with events and to help take care of animals. So if you're interested in becoming a zookeeper or a veterinarian and you want to get some experience working with animals from around the world, that is a good way to go. But I don't have that information with me, but you can easily find it just by Googling El Paso Zoological Society volunteers. And then from there, you'll find an application, and that's something completely different from what I'm talking about today. The Conservation Ambassador Program that I'm going to be talking about is something that we used to have, but now we're trying to bring back, and we're trying to find people who like to talk about animals and our people. In other words, we need people to help us with this program who love people, who like to talk about conservation and want to make a difference using their communication skills, preferably at the zoo, although we do have some virtual opportunities as well. So let me start by beginning by showing you the next slide here. This is one of our more exciting animals, in my opinion, because it's a very beautiful animal. It's called a Sumatran orangutan, and over the past 6 years, we've had 2 babies born. So I've been here 21 years, so you can imagine how exciting it was for me because I'm very interested in great apes. I've done some research in Africa on the mountain gorilla, and I've written a book about them. So we don't have gorillas, but we have orangutans, and these animals are critically endangered. And here's the baby that was born about a year ago. And so we're actively involved in trying to help save them from extinction. Can you imagine a world where we don't have cool animals like this living on the planet with us? They were here active and living in their habitats long before human civilization. And today they play a very essential role in the environment in helping to keep everything together, because all the parts of the ecosystem, whether you're in the Asian rainforest or whether you're in the desert where we live, everything has a role to play in maintaining a healthy environment. So the problem with orangutans is that they're losing their habitat because there's a very cheap oil that's being produced in Southeast Asia and other tropical countries called palm oil. And because it's so cheap, many people have taken advantage of the fact that it's a cheap form of oil, and it's being sold all around the world to make all kinds of products, including food products, cosmetics, cookies. You can't imagine all the products that are out there. So because this industry has been not sustainable for many years, our zoo and other zoos and other conservation organizations have been involved in trying to increase awareness as to the damage the palm oil industry is doing so that people can make informed decisions when they buy products. Not just informed decisions where they avoid products with palm oil, but also decisions to support sustainable palm oil. Because when you go to the store, you don't know if the palm oil in your cookie or the palm oil in your face cream is sustainable or not, because the products aren't labeled that way. They should be. So we helped develop an app that is now distributed by a number of zoos, including the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. You can get it for free on Google Play or Apple or the Apple Store. It's just called Palm Oil app. And when you scan a barcode with that app, it's going to tell you whether or not the company that is using that palm oil is making sure that the oil is sustainable, which basically means that the plantation where they grow the palm oil has decided to stop doing this. They're just using the land they already have. So these are the kinds of messages we want to try to get across when conservation ambassadors, like hopefully some of you who will volunteer at the zoo, come here. Is you'll talk to people and you'll not only answer their questions about our animals, but you'll also encourage them to get involved in efforts to save them from extinction. Believe it or not, this beautiful giraffe that you see here in Africa, that's the only place they're found, is endangered as well. And there's so many animals that are losing their habitat or just being killed. Some people are predicting that the giraffe is going to go extinct very soon because in Africa, where the population is growing, a lot of people don't have access to meat. So they're killing the giraffes to eat them. And that's kind of a sad thing. So we've been supporting the Giraffe Foundation to try to help save giraffes. Now here at the zoo, our top 3 education goals are: number 1, to continue to provide excellent, expert, and compassionate care for our animals, prioritizing their welfare and well-being. And one of the things that we have at the zoo is we have an area called Area 6, which is the area that takes care of our education animals. So our education plan and our education program involves actually caring for small animals. And we use these small animals for education programs. They're not exhibit animals. They're mainly for programs that we have for the public so that they can have up close and personal experiences that you couldn't have, say, with a tiger. We're actively involved in saving wildlife from extinction through our conservation work in the zoo and in the field, where we're actually sending staff to different parts of the world to help save these animals. And then we act and communicate with the purpose of inspiring people to value wild animals and to take action and responsibility in helping to ensure their place in the wild. So that's what basically we're trying to do. And conservation ambassadors like this new volunteer, her name is Rainey. She's from Australia. Her husband is in the military. She has extra time during the week. She actually brings her little boy with her, and she helps us to give out information about the zoo, encourage kids to learn more about our conservation programs through a little game we made. And whenever she comes, we put out this sign directing people to where she's at so that she can meet them and help people with their questions. But a conservation ambassador doesn't have to sit inside and just talk to people. You can actually be outside with the animals at their exhibits. And the nice thing about this program is that there's no minimum requirement as far as hours. You can put in 10 hours a year or 100 hours a year. It's really up to you. All we ask is that you complete an application, you receive some basic orientation in person or on the phone, and then you just let us know when you want to come and we'll help you get started. Here's an activity that some of our volunteers have been involved with over the years. It's called our conservation game. Most people, when they come to the zoo, have no idea that we have conservation projects going on. So this game was designed to increase awareness. It's a little card game. It takes just a few seconds to play, and then we give them a little prize at the end. We're also trying to encourage people to get more involved in not just being more informed consumers, but to actually become activists. So we put up this graphic not long ago, highlighting 8 of the animals at the zoo that are critically endangered. You know, there's different statuses for animals. They're either common, uncommon, they're threatened, they're near threatened, they're endangered, which means they could go extinct in our lifetime. If they're critically endangered, they could go extinct any day. That's how low the numbers are in the wild. So we have 8 species. These are 8 of the species we have that are critically endangered. And so it says on the sign, what you can do at the zoo is you can round up your purchases where the money is used to support projects. You can go online and learn more about the animals. You can sign up to be a conservation ambassador, as I'm describing today. One of the things I hope all of you will do while you're watching this presentation is grab your smartphone and scan this barcode so you can subscribe to our blog, because all the basic information about how to become an ambassador is on that blog. And we also post something new every week about our animals or conservation programs that we're involved in. If for some reason you cannot scan it right now, just write down the address and then you can subscribe with your email. And the address is very simple. It's El Paso Zoo, all one word, .home.blog. One of the animals that we have that's critically endangered is a species that's very close to my heart, because this animal it did go extinct in the wild during the early 1980s. And at the time, I was working as a park ranger in Big Bend National Park, and a friend of mine who was hired by the government to go into Mexico and capture wolves so they could be bred in captivity before they went, in case they did go extinct, and they did go extinct in the wild. And all the animals that are being put back in the wild today are the descendants of those wolves that my friend captured when I was going to graduate school. And so he invited me to his ranch to see one of the last wolves that he captured. And ever since I've seen that animal, I've been actively involved my entire life for over 40 years, trying to not only save it from extinction, but to try to return it to Texas, because right now these wolves live in the wild only in Arizona and New Mexico and northern Mexico, but there's none in Texas because of the politics of our state. So here at the zoo, we've been very successful over the past few years in not only breeding Mexican wolves, but also in helping to return them to the wild through a cross-fostering program. And cross-fostering is where you take a young wolf that's barely less than a week old, and you put that wolf in a den with other wild puppies. And then the mother wolf will raise that wolf with her pups. And it's been very successful. And now the population that was under 100 in the wild for many years is now like close to 300. So we're very excited to be a part of this program, because for one thing, that's what people expect nowadays. They don't expect us to have a zoo where you just look at animals, but they want us to be involved. And this is the first time in the history of the zoo that I know of that an animal actually born here has been put back in the wild to help save the species. When I was on the executive committee of the Sierra Club here in El Paso, I helped to organize an effort to get letters written to the state of Texas, in particular Texas Parks and Wildlife, asking them to come up with a plan to return the wolf to the wilds of Texas in some way where it wouldn't have a major economic impact on the ranching industry, because wolves do kill cattle. So rather than even respond to the letters and say thank you and we're going to try to do something, this was like 6-7 years ago, we sent 20,000 letters that were personally signed by people coming to the zoo. So we sent them in boxes and priority mail. And believe it or not, Texas Parks and Wildlife decided that their best response to our letters was no response. And 7 years later, we still don't even know what they're thinking, other than wolves so much that they won't even respond to 20,000 letters from El Paso. So can you see in my face that I'm not the kind of person that gives up? So we're still going forward. A new organization has formed called the Texas Lobo Coalition. And if any of you want to help save the wolf and return it to Texas, I can point you in that direction as well. So here at the zoo, we're doing everything we can to increase awareness about our environment, especially right here in El Paso. I mean, it's important that we do things to help animals in the wild in Africa and Asia. Yes, that's important. But right here in our own backyard is important too. And I think we can make an even bigger difference right here where we live. So the zoo is now part of the Chihuahuan Desert Fiesta, which is like a 19-year event that the Chihuahuan Desert Education Coalition started up years ago. So that's going to be in September. And we have animal demonstrations, and we have partner organizations, some entertainment, just a way to celebrate our desert and encourage people to get involved in conservation efforts. So that's where conservation ambassadors who volunteer at the zoo can also come into play. We're also sponsoring for the second time at the zoo in cooperation with the Chihuahuan Desert Education Coalition. You can see their website there at chihuahuandesert.org, another Chihuahuan Desert Conference. And I'm the chair of the conference, and my email box is full of people wanting to be a part of the conference by making presentations. So that's going to be in November, and you can find the link to the conference also on that website. So we also have at the zoo, in case you haven't been here in a while, a $16 million exhibit featuring the Chihuahuan Desert. So, you know, it's not just elephants and tigers, but it's animals from around here that we have at the zoo, and many of them also are endangered. So the Chihuahuan Desert is the largest desert in North America. It extends into Mexico. Only 10% of it is actually in the United States. So this is our own backyard, and the Chihuahuan Desert Education Coalition, working with the zoo and other organizations, is doing all it can to promote the efforts to conserve these lands, including the Kasner Range National Monument. We played a major role in getting letters to the president and working with Congress on getting that legislation passed. And actually, it wasn't legislation, it was President Biden that designated the monument. But the actual proposal to create a national monument came from the zoo. We were the ones that proposed the strategy, which ended up working after 40 years. We're also doing things to encourage people to landscape with desert plants, and we've had free desert willow trees given out here and other desert plants to encourage water conservation and better habitat for animals and plants in our desert and our urban areas. So we're doing all these things and more. We're sending staff to different parts of the world. Here's one of our keepers holding a critically endangered radiated tortoise, and we sent him to Madagascar a few years back to help rescue tortoises that had been captured illegally by some poachers over there. We've actually sent zookeepers down to Big Bend National Park, where I used to work, to help preserve habitat for Mexican black bears that have moved into Texas and are now repopulating areas where they used to live in West Texas and the Chizos Mountains of Big Bend. So they went on a trip for like 10 days down the Rio Grande, and they helped to remove exotic plants that were taking spaces away from native plants important to native animals like the bear, the black bear. So we're proud to be a partner with government agencies whenever they need our help. So we're working with local groups like Frontier Land Alliance, with the Draft Foundation. We're working with the World Wildlife Fund. For almost 20 years now, we've been supporting a project in Sumatra to help save Asian elephants. The problem is the Asian elephant is losing their habitat, and these elephants will go into farming areas where they get in trouble and they destroy farmers' crops. And then the farmers get mad and they kill the elephants. So the flying squad is actually a group of trained elephants ridden by mahouts, which are the people on top of the elephants. And they simply ride these trained elephants around the edges of the park. And when they see a wild elephant try to leave the park and go into an agricultural area, they chase that elephant back. It's a lot easier to chase an elephant back into the forest if you're an elephant versus a human. And so this has been a very good project that we've been working on with the World Wildlife Fund. It's a great place to work. I'm telling you, I've been here 21 years. It's always something new happening. We're very excited to be building a new exhibit for penguins. It's supposed to open later this year or early next year. I'm not sure. The building is almost ready. They just got to make some final modifications and get the water in there and get all the equipment in there to maintain the water and then bring in the penguins. And these are penguins called Magellanic penguins. They're from South America. And unlike a lot of penguins that we see on TV, these are not penguins that live in the Antarctic, where all the ice and snow is. You can see it right there at the bottom below the word crested. And so we're going to have a whole flock of penguins very soon. And it's going to be exciting to come to the zoo and see penguins. It's also going to allow us to talk more about ocean conservation. Right now, the only exhibit that we have that gives us a great opportunity to talk about our oceans is the sea lion exhibit. Oceans cover almost 3/4 of the planet, and there's so much going on in the oceans that's alarming, and we need to get more involved in educating people about what's happening to our oceans. So we would love to have you come here and help us get messages across. And so with that, I'll just end my presentation here and open it up for questions. And feel free to try to stump me with your questions.
We have a question. A lot of the high schools require so many community service hours and stuff like that. How old do they need to be to volunteer at the zoo?
Okay, I thought I was talking to college students. Is this a high school group or a college group?
No, sir. This is college, but we want the rest.
They have to right now. They have to be 18 years old to volunteer with the program that I'm talking about. Now, there are other programs out there where they sometimes bring in teenagers under 18, but that's through other organizations like the El Paso Zoological Society.
All right. Okay. On one of your first slides, there was an orangutan and the baby, and they were wondering what was in the baby's mouth on the first couple of slides.
On the first slide? Well,
yes.
You know, that's a good question because I didn't notice it myself, so I'm going to go back to it here. This one right here?
The next one, sorry. Yeah, the next one.
Probably a little piece of wood or something.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a little, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember. I took that with a 200mm zoom lens on my Nikon camera, and it could have been a piece of grass. It could have been anything. It definitely wasn't a pacifier.
All right. So at this time, do we have any more questions for Mr. Lobello? All right. It seems like we don't have any further questions. Mr. Lobello, is there anything you wanted to add or say before we let you go?
You all have my contact information, so I know that a lot of you are looking for volunteer opportunities. And so the main thing I want to emphasize to you is that this is a communication type assignment at the zoo where you're communicating our messages to the public. And if you're interested, go to our blog and just find the link there where you can contact me, and then I'll send you the application after we set up a phone call.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lobello. I would like to take a moment to thank everyone for coming today. I'd like to thank Mr. Lobello for taking some time to present for us on his El Paso Zoo Conservation Program. And I would like to thank you all for joining us as a wonderful audience, and we hope you have a good weekend. Before I let you go, I would like to invite you to next week's session. In this very room, we're going to have a presentation done by the EPCC Mental Health Committee. So once again, hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend. Thank you, everybody.